Released by Square in the year 1999 on the PlayStation 1, Parasite Eve II would be an action-horror sequel to the first game with RPG elements. Written and directed by Kenichi Iwao, who also wrote the original Resident Evil, the game would be influenced by but not based directly on the book by the original author. For story, the game features the return of Aya as she is assigned to a case deeply connected to the past. For gameplay, the combat is now action-oriented as enemies now appear on the field, and tank-controlled movement and lock-on shooting is all done in real time. There are plenty of Parasite energy powers Aya can use besides a large selection of guns and mods such as throwing fire or healing, as each power can also be upgraded with experience earned. Items in the game can either be used for an immediate effect or equipped onto Aya to provide a passive bonus. In addition, there are 3 possible endings, and once beaten, the game offers New Game Plus as well as 2 more challenging ways to complete the game again. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with RECAPitation. As the game begins, it's 3 years after the events of the first game, as Aya has quit being a police officer in New York and now works in Los Angeles for the FBI hunting neo-mitochondrial creatures, or NMCs. Though many of these creatures headed west from New York, she hasn't seen any more mutant mitochondria in the vein that created Eve, and it seems the threat is almost eradicated. Aya has been honing her skills and parasite energy powers within the Mitochondrial Investigation and Suppression Team, or MIST, though on the night of September 4th, 2000, something is distracting her during target practice. She hears from her coworker Pierce that there was an incident at the Acropolis Tower downtown, and their boss Baldwin is dispatching Aya to the scene. Pierce notices she's looking a bit tired, and Aya shares she's not been sleeping well and has been having strange dreams about her dead sister calling for help. Taking her yellow convertible, nicknamed Carrie, Aya arrives just as a helicopter spontaneously bursts into flame and crashes into the emergency vehicles below. Surveying the scene, Aya learns they lost contact with SWAT about 10 minutes ago, and entering finds them all slaughtered, though one member survived. He tells her they fought against literal monsters, and there is one civilian he was with nearby she should try to save. She finds a small creature tearing apart another officer, and with his dying breath, he cautions her they're not what they seem. Finding the civilian nearby, Aya watches in awe as the woman transforms into a new type of monster she's never seen before, and after putting it down, she examines the body to find a strange metal implant behind the ear. As she leaves, the creature gets up again, but just then her coworker Rupert saves her and makes sure the creature stays dead this time. Seeing there are smaller ones around, Rupert handles the cleanup as he tells Aya to call for backup, and while she informs Baldwin that the monsters can mimic human form now, he tells her he has no backup to send. With herself and Rupert on their own now, she checks the security cameras to spot another surviving SWAT member. While unable to obtain the cold, crisp taste of Coca-Cola, Aya does find more monsters powerful enough to shred through body armor that also have synthetic parts in them. She soon finds Rupert pinned down by a huge person in a green jumpsuit who looks at Aya and suddenly disengages and flees. An injured Rupert prompts Aya to pursue their attacker quickly, but has a bad feeling about all this. Looking around, she finds Gospel promoting the prosperity of parasites as natural order, and overhears a SWAT officer she spotted earlier on the camera mention how the capture operation has failed, and this is looking to be a second New York incident. The man is speaking to someone who gives the order to destroy all evidence and ensures MIST will not be an obstacle because of specimen number 9. The man leaves a bomb behind, and while Aya tries to follow, she finds she must now contend with large cybernetically enhanced soldiers called golems all over the premises, all armed with guns and advanced tech like cloaking or energy swords. Baldwin calls to tell her she needs to detain the bomb-planting suspect as a police helicopter is en route to pick her up. Climbing up to the roof, she is met by the green soldier that attacked Rupert, who laughs aloud, saying he's a hunter just like her. He shows her the bomb detonator in his hand while lighting his machete on fire and attacking her, but his tech ends up backfiring as she fries it and forces him away for now. As he leaps to another building, he drops the detonator, which is picked up by Rupert, though the bombs go off anyway. Fortunately, they get to their chopper in time to escape the building exploding behind them. The next day, after Baldwin debriefs them, he hands Aya her next assignment, which is to investigate a site in the Mojave Desert where some cattle have just been killed by NMCs. She hands the implant she found to Pierce, who reports back that it's a cutting-edge microtransmitter, suggesting that someone is controlling the monsters. More interesting is that there was sand in it that matches samples from the Mojave, and seeing the link now to her new case, Aya drives off. Arriving in the small dusty town of Dryfield, she looks for locals but finds new monsters here surviving in the arid climate. A cautious man tells her this town has been overrun and what few people there were have either been killed or escaped. He's set up traps around town and patrols, introducing himself as Douglas, who says Aya's name sounds familiar for some reason. He gives her a room to rest in and tells her to be cautious around the mimics that are indeed still lurking in town. Accepting his hospitality, Aya reflects how she still appears youthful because of her mitochondria but would prefer to live a more normal life. From her room, she spots a man standing on a nearby water tower who introduces himself as Kyle and knows of NMCs and Mist. He adds he's a private investigator checking out a shelter near here, but has been stranded when the monsters totaled his car. He offers to join forces with Aya and she accepts, continuing her investigation with the help of the official soft drink of summer, Coca-Cola. Douglas shares he knows the shelter Kyle seeks as it was originally dug as a fallout shelter, but recently it was bought by some large company. Aya suddenly hears a scream, though he doesn't and checks it out, finding new models of golems and cloaking creatures along the way. She finds the source of the scream to be a woman hacked down by the same number 9 from the tower, demanding to know why he killed her. He points to reveal it was no woman but a monster in disguise, and he's just doing the same extermination she is, adding that blowing up the building in LA and killing a few dozen was worth saving the entire city. She demands to know who he is, and he points his gun blade back at her, claiming to have stronger mitochondria. They fight and number 9 backs off, laughing and recognizing her connection to Eve. Hearing this name, Aya's vision suddenly blurs as she gets a massive headache, strange light grows out of her, and she sets number 9 ablaze, defeating him. She then has a dream of a girl that looks just like Maya strapped down in a lab and fading out as the lights around her shatter. Waking up again, sirens bellow as she is freed and leaves the destroyed room. As she sleeps, Kyle enters the room, surveys the scene, and points his gun at her. Aya quickly snaps awake and lights his gun on fire, which quickly spreads up his arm until he drops it. His skin isn't burned as Aya questions where number 9 went, but there is no one or body there. Kyle shares Douglas thinks the shelter must be the monster's nest, but when they try to get to Aya's car, they find Carrie completely totaled by NMCs. Douglas offers his red pickup truck, and after fixing it up, Kyle pauses to refresh himself with some Coca-Cola while Aya takes a nap. In her dream, she sees the little girl again trying to escape some sort of bunker as she is chased by golem soldiers. She is startled awake and takes a shower to relax, only to be disturbed by something massive. An enormous NMC taller than the motel she's in lumbers forward, equipped with machinery to help it breathe fire. Douglas and his dog Flint try to fend it off, but it's up to Aya and her unique skills to destroy the monster, saving both of them. Before Aya sets off, Kyle appears just after the fight and tells Aya retroviruses, like those responsible for Ebola and AIDS, change the host's DNA. In addition, manufacturing viruses like these produce vector viruses, a means of inserting manufactured DNA into cells, and some civilian organizations use them for DNA treatments. Though he adds, were you to introduce them to reproduction cells, a parent would pass DNA to the child and mutations would occur. In other words, virus-triggered evolution. Kyle then connects that NMCs took local lifeforms as hosts, combining neomitochondria with the reproductive power of a virus, resulting in this outbreak. He claims the virus is being made in the shelter they seek and is an airborne one. As the night crawls into the next day, the truck stalls out on the way to the shelter as a pack of creatures look on and stage an ambush, forcing them into a nearby abandoned mine. Kyle is injured and Aya holds off the mob as Kyle gets away, though as she tries to catch up, she is concerned to find his weapon alongside a fallen NMC. She also finds an out-of-place motorcycle down here that signals a nearby hidden wall, behind which reveals the secret bunker they were looking for. Exploring the facility, she finds more golems patrolling, but receives another staggering vision of the little girl running away from her pursuers and discovering a room with a large cocoon. Aya passes through labs where experiments were performed on all manner of creatures, including humans, and some still linger. Finding the door she just saw in her vision, she is forced into a disposal area where she deals with the devourer of discarded experiments, defeating it by trapping it in a crusher that turns it into a sandwich. However, when trapped in the incinerator, she is rescued by Kyle, relieved to see him alive, and flattered when he compliments her smile. Working their way back to the shelter, Aya sees Flint and is concerned about Douglas, and Kyle offers to split up as she checks it out and he'll continue to the shelter. Following the dog, she is surprised it leads her to Pierce, who says he came here to rescue her but got injured from the monsters here. He stays behind to rest his wounds, handing her the keys to his SUV and an always refreshing can of Coca-Cola to open happiness with. She finds Douglas is actually fine, and after gunning down the lead researcher Dr. Bowman, who turned himself into a sentient monster, she finds a charred lab where she saw the little girl escape from. Beyond, she is shocked to find an incubator cultivating cells with flasks labeled Eve as well as Aya, and finds Dr. Bowman's computer. She learns from his terminal that there is a plan to revitalize the human race with neomitochondria and something called the Second Neoteny Plan. The first step was to obtain a neomitochondria sample with power equal to or greater than Eve's. Next, they would apply the sample to a test subject and redesign their genetic profile to experiment and create multiple artificial NMCs. Finally, they would unlock humanity's true potential through controlled evolution. She also learns they obtained their desired neomitochondria sample shortly after the New York disaster, but have had problems with the primary test subject rebelling and so have resorted to clones of the test subject. Wondering who the primary test subject was, she is shocked to discover it was her all along, meaning every ANMC she's been fighting and killing has just been a mutated clone of herself. Interrupting her is a call from Pierce, who has recovered and is now inside the shelter hacking its mainframe. Staying focused, she moves towards Pierce, passing by the gigantic cocoon she saw in her vision and observing there is something alive inside. Pierce then shows Aya a massive engineered ecosystem called the Neo-Ark here in the shelter and notes something in the greenhouse is generating a massive amount of energy to not only create an electromagnetic barrier, but grow the ANMC pupa she saw earlier. He suggests they focus on cutting off the generator first, handing her a tracker to see the location of other ANMCs and showing her the facility in that area. At the same time, the President of the United States receives an update that the mole they planted has found what they were looking for, and he gives the authorization to destroy it from orbit as the only way to be sure. Aya arrives to see there are multiple biomes within the Neo-Ark, and the automated tour informs her they have engineered humans adapted to each environment, using vector viruses to deliver neomitochondria and induce neoteny, which allows adults to retain juvenile characteristics, thus achieving eternal youth and allowing hosts to evolve however they want. However, there are no ANMCs on this ANMC tour, as the procedure is still in development and those test groups are still on life support in a comatose state. While the Ark has spared no expense in its security features, Aya finds an ANMC is being used as a living battery for everything, and executes a manual override to shut it and another one down. Though she senses a powerful source of energy beneath her, someone activates a powerful set of golem units nearby, and she returns back to Pierce. He tells her that the generators she destroyed were only powering the barrier while he suspects the main catalyst for the pupa, called the reactor, is the queen below. Unlocking an elevator, Aya descends down and is surprised to run into a little girl controlling the ANMCs directly. While the girl is cornered, Aya is approached by Kyle, who confirms the girl is the queen they were looking for and prepares to kill her, though Aya steps in and chooses to peacefully approach the girl instead. Removing her helmet, Aya is unsurprised to see the girl is her identical clone, the one she has shared visions with, and is named Eve. Aya also notices Eve's helmet is a brainwave amplifier, enabling her to control the ANMCs per the order of the facility owners who brainwashed her. She also suspects Eve was used and abused, and in defense raised the barriers. Suddenly the lights cut out and gas grenades are tossed into the room as Kyle shoots out an observation mirror and ushers them into the next room. Kyle holds off the golems as Aya sees more clones of herself in incubation, and Eve has a headache and runs ahead. Aya follows just to see Number 9 once again with Eve as a hostage in his grasp, thanking her for taking down the barrier and making the capture easy. She loses track of him and returns to Pierce, who is also gone, but left behind a hastily written note mentioning how their own boss Baldwin was leaking mist data to this facility. Finding a long exit tunnel, she finds the out-of-place motorcycle again and realizes it's Number 9's, and a teddy bear belonging to Eve is still on it. Opening the door outside, Aya is met by scores of golems who turn to attack her, when just in time the military arrives to take them down and secure the area. However, a new barrier rises over one sector, preventing their entry, and despite the collateral damage, the order is sent from the president to hit it with an orbital strike. At the same time, Aya consults her lieutenant on how to best contain the situation and tells him she can bypass the barrier they just discovered. She is welcomed by Flynn outside, bearing a message from Douglas, as well as her coworker Jody, who reports Baldwin was successfully arrested and evidence was found of him being a mole alongside several other agents. Leveraging Flynn's tracking ability, Aya lets him catch Eve's scent from her teddy bear, and the canine catches her trail, leading Aya to also rescue Pierce and several soldiers along the way. Catching up to where Eve is in the cocoon room, she is surprised to see Kyle is also there with Number 9 as Eve is back under their control. Number 9 says his life support is cut off and will die soon anyway, but still wants to finish his mission while the fate of the world is in his hand, intending to merge Eve with a pupa and hatch it. Doing so will create a biohazard that will induce complete global saturation of ANMC conversion, forcing evolution of humanity. Kyle elaborates the group he works for is dedicated to guiding the human race away from its doomed fate by making a new natural order, and points out the people who were turned into ANMCs were not turned against their will. In fact, they volunteered for the procedure, willing to trade morality for a shot at immortality and eternal youth. He says he was using her to get to Eve, shooting Aya in the shoulder, but then quickly turns around and shoots Number 9 in the head while also blocking the creature from absorbing Eve. Getting up, Number 9 is furious at the double agent, but the creature quickly consumes him instead. He apologizes to them both for letting things get this far, explaining he had to play both sides in order to figure out what was going on. Kyle then calls in evac and a medic but gets no reply as Eve speaks her first words to them, directing their attention to the bright lights descending above. Firing down from space, a weaponized satellite bombards Dryfield and the shelter with devastating shots, piercing a facility and striking the cocoon. Prematurely hatched, the giant pupa emerges from its cocoon, crying as it's born, as Aya is separated from Eve and Kyle. Kyle tells her Eve fell down and urges her to go on while hiding the fact his leg was blown off in the explosion and admitting his strong feelings for Aya. Spotting Eve, Aya is cut off by the massive A&MC, forced to duel the behemoth and edging out a win. However, before it falls, it scoops away Eve and consumes her, rapidly evolving into a neo-mitochondria Eve. Pushed to her limit against her own mutated clone, Aya wins the battle, and though the ultimate A&MC tries to seize her and escape, it fails and dissolves away. Waking up, she sees Kyle and he tells her Eve is safe and sound, though when he begins to talk more, she fades out. As the military would find and rescue the duo, the next day the president would be briefed on the success of Aya and the team's actions. The public would be told this incident was a cultist nuclear attack and evidence linking it to the Manhattan incident was being removed. However, their mole has declared his resignation and disappeared, and so the order to hunt him down as a loose end is issued. As the game ends, another year passes, and the FBI has arrested several suspected agents in collaboration with a classified private organization. Everyone involved would be hit with a gag order, and the public report would be suppression of an armed cultist uprising. Rupert would assume the senior post, though he was also secretly working with Jody on leaking mist and NMCs to the public. Japanese biologist Dr. Maeda would propose a new superhuman theory in relation to neo-mitochondria, though it would not be widely received, although Pierce would believe him and assist his endeavors. Rupert would also arrange things so that Eve would legally be registered as Aya's younger sister and is now attending junior high. In addition, as she recovers mentally, it also seems she lost her neo-mitochondrial power somehow. Douglas and Flint both survived the destruction of Dryfield and are now working to rebuild it. On September 1st, 2001, Aya and Eve take a trip to New York to visit the Nature Museum when they would be surprised by the reappearance of Kyle with a prosthetic leg and happy to be reunited and move on together. Parasite Eve II has enjoyed the success of selling over 1.2 million copies worldwide. Thank you for watching this recap, I hope it helped, and I hope you have a spooky but healthy Halloween, free of rogue mitochondria. Subscribe for more recaps like this, share with someone who could use it, and shout out to the patrons and channel members. If you would like to support the show yourself, please follow the links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next battlefield.